Adding and subtracting polynomials. Before I jump into the first example, I just want to say this. You're going to hear me say this 100,000 times. When adding and subtracting, you will create no new animals. Meaning that what you have is what you're going to end up with. X squareds are going to still be x squareds, x's are x's, and numbers are numbers. So if you add apples with apples, you're just going to end up with apples. You don't end up with apples squared or anything like that. And so as we look at this first example, they're asking me to add these two sets of terms. And so I want to line like terms up. I'm going to say 3x squared plus 5x minus 2. That's the first set of terms. Plus means I'm just going to add these up. X squareds go with x squared. So it would be 5x squared, 7x, minus 3. Because I'm adding, we'll just go ahead and add these things straight up. 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 what? X squareds. Why? Because when adding and subtracting, one will create no new animals. 5 Sasquatch plus 7 Sasquatch would be 12 Sasquatch. Remember, X is our X animal, which is the Sasquatch. Numbers, -2 and -3, because you're adding them. Here's a bill for $2, a bill for $3. You owe me 5. Notice I started with 3 terms. I ended with the 3 like critters, like animals. When adding and subtracting, you'll create no new animals. Let's move on to example number 2. We'll set it up the same way. Maybe we'll make it a little bit more complicated. We'll say something like this. We'll say 5x squared minus 2xy plus 3y squareds minus, and then usually it's in the same order, so we'll say something like this. 3x squared plus 7xy minus 4y squareds. With the operation of subtraction, what I would do is start with the original set of parentheses and say 5x squared minus 2xy plus 3y squared. Then I'm going to do my operation right here. I'm going to go minus, and I'm going to bring all these terms together where I line them up. In this case, it would be 3x squared plus 7xy minus 4y squared. Now, when you do subtraction, subtraction is the same as adding opposites. So what I'm going to do here is say add, I'm going to turn that to a plus, and change the sign of everything that follows. I'll call this a negative, call this a negative, and call this a positive. And now I combine like terms. And as I repeat myself, when adding and subtracting, one will create no new animals. So if you have 5 of these critters, take away 3 of those critters, that will leave you with 2 of the x squareds. In a similar way, now you look at these, they're both negative. -2 and -7 would be -9 of the xy term. And we finish up with this. 3y squareds and 4y squareds would be plus 7y squareds. The trick to doing subtraction is to put the subtraction sign here, list the original terms, and then add their opposites. Turn it into an addition problem and change the sign of everything that follows. As you add and subtract, you create no new animals. See, x squareds left you with x squareds. xy's were still xy's. Y squareds would still be y squareds. This is one of the biggest things that students have to gain control of. When you add and subtract, you create no new animals. We'll do another example or two and then we'll move on.